Hi guys, thank you for joining me for part 5 of this IPL preview. And we're going to cover the box office attraction, Chennai Super Kings, the only time of the year we get to watch MS Dhoni play nowadays. So, what can we expect for Chennai Super Kings? Last season was the first ever season we didn't see them finishing in the playoffs. Can we write that off as a bad season and they'll be back to the best, finishing in the playoffs again this year? Sam Curran looks like he's in good form. Do you expect Chennai to be in the top four? I'll start with you, Monty. Who is the player to watch out for Chennai Super Kings, and will they again miss out for the second year running?
Now, I don't expect Chennai Super Kings to miss out this year. I think they'll be very competitive. They know how to win in India. Chennai Super Kings is effectively a good team in India, a good team, in Chennai in particular, them turning tracks and, the conditions in UAE just didn't suit Chennai's strategy or the way they play their cricket. I think Dhoni is far more comfortable on sort of slightly more turning slow sort of pitches in India. So, I think, we need a big season this year from MS Dhoni. I think he's due a big season. Like all great players, they find a way of, getting back to their best. And then, right time, right place. Moeen Ali is another one. Interesting. Just at the back end of that test match, just hit a few fours and sixes. Just bumped up his prize from 2 crores, went up to 6, 7. So it just shows right time, right place, and the fortunes always favour the brave. So I think that's what Chennai Super King needs to be. They need to be brave. Throughout this selection and the way they play. You've seen Sam Curran, what an innings that was. Nearly won the match at the back end. I think Stephen Fleming will be happy to see, the way the likes of some of the signings that they've had with Moeen Ali coming back and also, Sam Curran. But I think the real pressure is going to be on the veteran, Imran Tahir. He really needs to keep on performing well and show he can do it with age. Because, like they say, there's no substitute for experience. And we've got some fine players in there. Dwayne Bravo, MS Dhoni, Virender Jadeja, and also Imran Khan. All experienced players. I think this year they all need to turn up and show how good they are in Indian conditions.
Yeah, last year was strange. I mean, DJ Bravo coming off that incredible year in the CPL for Trinidad Knight Riders barely played. Imran Tahir barely played through last year. Having said that, the bowling wasn't the problem last year for CSK. They took wickets with the spinners. They took wicket with the seam bowlers. You got Shardul Thakur, who improved hugely as a cricketer in the last few years. Deepak Chahar can bowl his overs straight through at the top of the innings and now can bowl at any stage of the innings. Sam Curran was very effective. Jadeja as well. I mean, now they've got Moeen Ali. Lungi Ngidi, who's been a bit of a revelation for them recently. He'll miss the first game in a similar manner to Rabada and Nokia, as we talked about for Delhi in a previous episode. Suresh Raina, they've got him back this year, who was a huge miss for them last year, adding some impetus and some intent, as they say, at the top of the order, or in that kind of number 3 slot in what is otherwise Sam Curran, notwithstanding a fairly conservative batting lineup. Mitchell Santner as well, I think he was massively underused last year. I think CSK have the makings, clearly they have the makings of a very good team, but the balance of the 11 is open to question, and there's a lot of different ways they could go. I think there's a lot of ways really for CSK to mess this up a little bit. Also, Monty mentioned Chennai. They're not playing at home this year like no other IPL teams are, and I think the venue balance doesn't suit them that well. First 5 games in Mumbai, 4 games in Delhi, sure, which is slow, but then the rest Bangalore and finishing in Calcutta. They're going to need to find a way of playing and restricting teams and of scoring quickly on quicker pitches, which they just weren't able to do at all last year. Particularly, we saw last year, I think it was the best example of this was that game against Rajasthan Royals at Abu Dhabi. They just got blown away. Their spinners tried to toss the ball up and just got hit further and further and further, and the batters weren't able to make any sort of impact at all. They're going to need a lot more from that top order and not have it all be on someone producing a miracle. Monty mentioned Moeen and Sam Curran, who both can provide that impetus. A couple of players who had good domestic seasons this year. Robin Uthappa had a very good year for Kerala. I think if he plays, he's got to open. I think Rajasthan trying to use him in the middle order last year really didn't work. Jagdishan had an excellent year for Tamil Nadu this year. Wouldn't expect Cheteshwar Pujara to play. It's kind of fun that they signed him, but wouldn't expect him to play very much. And I think Suresh Raina's got to step up this year. I don't know really how much we can expect from Dhoni and Raidu again this year. I think that anything from them is a bit of a bonus this year. But last year it was all on Faf and Sam Curran, and that can't happen again this year if Chennai are going to perform, given that they'll be playing a lot on faster pitches.
Yeah, I think with Chennai, I feel like what they pick in the top order is going to be really interesting because Faf, obviously brilliant opener. Ambati Raidu had his best season with Chennai as an opener. Then you've got, I know Pujara probably won't play, but if you have to fit him in the 11, you have to play him as an uopener. And it's the same with Robin Uthappa, who was brilliant for KKR for a number of years as an opener, but then he went to Rajasthan and struggled in the middle order. And so they have got to pay. And Sam Curran, who opened for them last year and was brilliant. So then who do Chennai Super Kings go with as the opening combination, I think will also be important. And then do they trust those openers to go through the full season? Because if you chop and change, I'm sure Monty will agree with me, and so will you, that chopping and changing that opening partnership does not help anybody. And I think knowing that Raina will be batting at 3 throughout the season will help whoever's at the top of the order.
And what are you asking them to do? I think they've got to attack the power play. Last year, it got them. They ended up being way too conservative early on, and it put so much pressure on the rest of the batting order that everything had to go right for them to get a competitive score on the board, which is just not a good position to leave yourself in. Increasingly now, Monty, when you were playing limited overs cricket, it'd be very much about set yourself up, build slowly, don't take too many risks early on, and build yourself up for the latter stages of the innings. Even in the early days of T20 cricket, almost that feels like the bigger risk now is to go slowly early on, because at least if you try and score quickly, even if you lose some wickets, you've got some runs on the board. That's certainly what it feels like to me. I don't know if that would be the case from a player's point of view.
Yeah, look. I think Chennai Super Kings is probably that type of team, where they look to build slowly and then they work out, their game plans, which players they want to come into. You look at RCB, completely the opposite. They need a big start to actually get to their, bigger totals. So for me, I think you're absolutely spot on. That impetus, at the first few overs, who they're going to open with. There's only one answer for me, and that's Moeen Ali. Moeen Ali will open the batting with Faf du Plessis. I think that's a great combination. Moeen Ali's done really well as an opener for Worcestershire. He's actually, won him, with his captaincy, the title of the T20 NatWest Blast. So I see Moeen Ali, actually playing the batter, not more for his bowling, as he oversees. And then his bowling is more of a bonus. He bowls well. 2 or 3 overs, gets 4 overs. Sam Curran is definitely a shoo-in for me, as well as Imran Tahir, Faf du Plessis, and Moeen Ali. Gosh, where do we bring DJ Bravo? That's another great player. So this is, the selection headache that, MS Dhoni will have. But I would like Stephen Fleming to think and be a bit more creative and think, let's have Moeen Ali opening at the top of the order.
I think if Moeen Ali opens, it'll be reminiscent of when KKR opened with Chris Lynn and Sunil Narayan suddenly at the top of the order, and Narayan's job was to just go home, like go hit or go home. It was as simple as that. You just go and hit 50 runs in the power play or you get out. And I think if Moeen opens, that would be the same, wouldn't it? Well,
Moeen Ali is a better batter in that sense than Sunil Narayan, but similar in the sense that his strength is hitting spin. He's one of the best. You look at the analysts, and they all say this. He's one of the best hitters of spin in the world in T20 cricket at any stage of the innings. I don't know if he'll open, but I would like to see him used in the certainly no lower than 5. And if you want him to come into the middle overs and add that impetus, fine. I would quite like to see kind of semi-expect to see, although it's hard to read, Faf and Sam Curran to open. But I can certainly see the case for Moeen opening, or certainly higher up. What I don't want is for Moeen Ali to have to come in right at the end, and pick up again after a slowdown, because I think that's a waste of his abilities.
Yeah, and last thing I wanted to ask you guys was, we've mentioned this in previous episodes as well, 6 months makes a massive difference. And Shardul Thakur has come along so well with his vast, different exchange, knuckleball, the split finger delivery. He just seems like that player, even in the national cricket, Virat Kohli turns to when he needs a wicket. How big will that be for MS Dhoni, the captain, to have Shardul Thakur in form and someone he can look to take wickets when needed?
Middle order wickets, power play wickets. He can do all of those things. He can bowl those cutters. He disguises it brilliantly. He was a very much, coming out of Ranji Trophy cricket, and it was pitch the ball up and get the ball to swing. Pitch the ball up, get the ball to swing. And he was a little bit ineffective. Now he has such confidence in his game, and he's a really good hitter of a ball. He can hit the ball a really long way, whether that will be needed or not. But, if you need someone to, hit 3 boundaries in 6 balls when you're at the end of the innings, he can do that for you. Shardul Thakur, I think he's a fantastic bowler. As I said at the top of when we were talking about this, the bowling's not the problem for CSK. Monty said it. They've got too many good bowlers to fit into the 11, and any number of them.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and I think it's a top order, and yeah, look, it's something, Do they go with Sam Curran? Do they go with Moeen Ali? And we've seen regular. If you ask me, what my coaches sort of head on. I've seen Moeen Ali open the batting in 40-over cricket, in T20 cricket for Worcester. I think that would be a viable option and a more of a less risky option, knowing that he's done it in the past and he's great. He's a lovely player when he just hits the ball over the top when the fielders are up against the faster bowlers. And like you said, he's a great striker against spin bowling. Mind you, I've got him out a few times actually when I bowled to him. So it just depends who's the bowler. But in general terms, I'll say Moeen Ali, top of the order. I wouldn't be half surprised he actually opens the batting for Chennai in the opening match.
One thing you can say is that if it does fail, he won't be eating up a lot of deliveries and wasting and putting pressure on. If he gets out, he'll get out quickly, and that's fine. Him getting out for 6 off 3 balls, 6 off 4 balls is whatever. What you absolutely don't want is someone getting out for 12 off 20 balls, and because that's the worst of all possible balls. I've very rarely seen a better T20 innings than. It was in the Blast a couple of years ago in the quarter-final, that 100 he scored at, batting at 3 for Worcestershire. I can't remember. I think it was Gloucestershire they were playing. No, Middlesex. Sorry, he was playing against Middlesex in the quarter-final. Sussex. It was such.
I think it was Sussex. Yeah.
Yeah, it didn't matter. It didn't matter who the bowlers were. Whoever you bowled at him that day was going out of the park. Look at the highlights. The Blast quarter-final from 2019. Just a glorious player to watch, Moeen Ali. I think there are a lot of players that you can say this for with CSK. They can't possibly be as bad as they were last year.
Yeah, so lastly, of course, we've covered CSK in detail. They can't be as bad as last year, but can they be good enough to be in the playoffs? Monty, prediction time now for you. Yes or no?
Well, I think there've got to be a few players who actually, some of the old goldies that you call it. MS Dhoni needs to have a great season for CSK to go through. The likes of Moeen Ali, Sam Curran, I'm sure they'll play, and they've got to play their part. So that's important. DJ Bravo again, Virender Jadeja. So they've got some players in the past who've done really well in the IPL, and we've got to see that coming through. Well, so I think they've got no chance. And if we don't see the old MS Dhoni, I'm afraid this could be the last year we see MS Dhoni in the IPL, and I'm sure there's a lot of MS Dhoni fans out there. I think Cristiano Ronaldo, MS Dhoni, that's the sort of category he's in. So I'm a big fan of MS Dhoni. I really hope, he can produce some of his, magic and the miracles that he does in the last few sort of overs and chase down the runs, which we all love to see. So I really hope MS Dhoni has a fantastic year and one of his best IPLs.
I think that's a great note to end on. So we'll just end there for Chennai, and we'll find out how MS Dhoni comes along this year. If it is his last year in the IPL, I'd love to see him do well. And I'm sure all of us as fans of MS Dhoni would. So I'll see you guys in part 6 where we'll cover Punjab Kings.